It's Topic Thunder. It's Topic Thunder. Just acknowledging knowledge with no scholarships. It's Topic Thunder. It's Topic Thunder. Breaking everything down, tech to politics. It's Topic Thunder. It's Topic Thunder. We don't tell you what you want, we just give you what you need. It's Topic Thunder. It's Topic Thunder. News, brews, and views from these Chi-Town streets. Topic Thunder.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Topic Thunder, my dad's favorite topic infused podcast, and he's never ever seen or heard a podcast before.
Not a single one. Still not.
It's
yet.
Here
we are.
Best demographic. Welcome to the show. All the humor aside, Topic Thunder is on the air. Welcome to the Thunderdome. I'm Brooks. That's Ben. And I'm sure everybody will be piling into the chat room because that's what we do here on the show. We actively invite you to come on in and chat with us as we wind our way through the news, not only of the day, but all kinds of fun, science and health related, and all kinds of. Oh, Ben, I forgot to tell you. Oh, one of our episodes got banned from YouTube. I forgot
Shut
to
up.
fucking.
For real?
I just completely derailed the entire structure of the show. But yeah, now I'm gonna furiously look for this message from YouTube. Because apparently we were talking in, check this out. Yeah, imagine this: vaccine misinformation.
Really?
I'm sending this to you right now.
That's amazing. Like, we must have been talking about it in terms of like goofing on it, and the algorithm just picked something up. It had to, because there's no way like did we actually engage in vaccine misinformation here?
I've tried my damnedest not to, and I think
I think we've been pretty good about trying to be, backing up with sources and respected sources and respected people and things of that nature.
And we're a weekly, so we don't necessarily get what happens on a Monday night or the collection of information up until that show. Could change drastically in a week later. We've all seen how that that goes. So I don't know, but I did just send you the but not to sidetrack the show, because we've got
7 states in YouTube.
Yeah, we've got that's a first. That's a hello. Thanks. Twitch hasn't done it, so make sure everybody, if you're watching us on YouTube, thank you. If you're watching us on Facebook, again, thank you so much. We're finding a nice little niche on Twitch.
Yes,
that we're going to call home.
Please,
so,
if you can, hop over to Twitch. If you already have a Twitch account, great. It takes just a few seconds to create an account. You can watch it on your phone, whatever you're watching us on now. You can certainly get Twitch on there as well. It helps us with the algorithms.
You're not helping, Courtney, talking about the pee guy episode. Like, that's all we talked about for an hour and 20 minutes was the pee guy.
The guy that was drinking his own. I wonder if it was, though. Because that.
Oh, that's a good point.
I wonder. I'll have to go back and look at that show, because I think as the publisher, you still have access to the show. It's just deplatformed, if you will, and people can't find it and play it. But as the owner of the video, I think you can play it. So I'll go back and check. I will report back next week. This time next week, in the open of the show next week, I will report back and let you guys know if what I think it was that got us banned on YouTube.
If you've never seen Investigative Ben Jordan, it's a different kind of hat than the one he's got on right now.
Yeah, that one is. I don't pull that one out very often anymore.
No, but it means business. So look out.
Yeah, somebody's gonna pay.
So like I was saying, we kind of have a lot to talk about. So let's just get right to the booze, right, because
I've been waiting all day. I've been buffing up. I've been saying, all right, Ukraine, let's do this.
Well, let's first of all, we didn't have.
Let's get ourselves well lubed before we talk about war.
Let's give ourselves a toast to the people of Ukraine, to the legit fighting for their country, and we'll obviously get to some of that too. But here's to the people of Ukraine. Nothing fancy about this. This is just a dirty martini for a dirty situation that we all kind of now find ourselves in.
Now, what is it exactly for an ignoramus like me? What is a dirty martini in Thailand?
Okay. Let me taste that. Okay, it's got that. Okay, right. So traditionally, your dirty martini would just be vodka or gin. splash of vermouth, and olive juice. That's what makes it dirty, because otherwise, that a martini is just vodka, gin, and a little vermouth. That's a regular. That's your James Bond martini,
shaken, not stirred.
right? So you mix all that in. I happen to be a fan of the brine, so I like mine dirt. Like I like yes, give me
Yes.
it. I want it cloudy. I want 5 olives on
All
that.
the olives in there. Yeah, I like the olives too. Yeah.
Yeah, big fan of green olives. I know that kind of puts a lot of people off out there. Hashtag green olive lover.
Yes, that
But-
is a very divisive thing. As a green olive lover, I thought everyone loved them. Turns out I think, are in the minority when it comes to green olives. I think there are more people that don't like green olives than do.
Right. Okay. So Courtney, CJ Mino in the chat room agrees that I don't want to be able to see in the other side in a dirty martini with blue cheese olives. So that just so it's just a murky, boggy, like there's thing you don't have to put a stick on things. It'll just float because of the
Yes.
buoyancy of the salt in there.
So with all this said,
There he is.
how many Brooks bolts does the dirty martini get?
Oh, she makes a fine one, but we didn't have any olives, so there's gonna be we're gonna take in some. We do have this lovely like
a gherkin.
like cocktail kind of thing,
Uh-huh.
but unfortunately the cocktail gherkin has kind of got its way into the dirty martini a little bit.
Uh-huh.
So we're just gonna order 3.5, but
Okay.
that's really good in a pinch. And
Sure, right. Yeah. I mean,
World War III.
that's better than halfway. I mean, that's above average. So,
Here's to everybody, all the green olive lovers out there.
Salud.
Salud.
yeah.
Let's get into it. Why don't we?
Oh, hold on.
Nothing nobody doesn't already know. There's a massive invasion of the sovereign independent nation of Ukraine by its Soviet. I was naturally going to say Soviet Russia, but it kind of feels that way now, doesn't it? Now, doesn't it? Let's just say the thing that's there in the room that like by Soviet Russia, and trying to find some meaning in this, and trying to find not only what's how do you get out of this, right? What now we're in this. Where is this going to go? What not only what's going on the ground, but what's happening globally now. I don't think it's ever been seen before. I think we're going to dive into all that, but we're going to dive into the sanctions thing. Have you ever seen something so swift? The economic dismantling of a country as a punitive action.
Yeah. You were talking about it last week. You said what they needed to do was swift sanctions. So here we are a week later. Are you saying what we got was what you were expecting or hoping the level that it would be?
Wow. Like, I'm sure there's a couple more things they could do, but they sanctioned Vladimir Putin himself. Never in the history of this form of governance globally and the cooperation of governments globally has any world leader ever been sanctioned. We're like,
it seems like everyone in the world is turning on Vladimir Putin right now. Like it is him versus everybody. He's getting backed into a corner. It'll be very, very interesting to see how that man reacts in the coming week or so as the pressure intensifies on him. There's one of our Russian bots, Clarissa.
hello, Clarissa. And we're gonna have a little we're gonna have an extended chat, shall we say, about our good friend Saint Vladimir a little bit later. But right now, let's kind of focus back on what's going on in Ukraine. It's obviously how that affects everybody. The fourth day this is I think from yesterday, so maybe it's a day late or something. But this first story I sent you has a nice right at the top, has a nice little graphic. I'm sure people are kind of dialed into the news and whatnot, but I know we've talked about this before. We've showed different maps before. Like people knew this was going to happen. This was once the the military strategists saw all the satellite information and all the pieces on the board. They kind of knew that this was the way Putin was going to do it, right? What we didn't know is the staunchness of the resistance, right? And the heroics of not only the Ukrainian people, the Ukrainian military, but the Ukrainian government. Have you seen some of the videos coming out of the highest level of governance in Ukraine, where he's openly saying, "I'm here. I'm still in Kyiv." There was the foreign minister that said, "Fuck you, Russia," like live on TV.
The president is actually like engaging in like military action, right? I mean, if I'm not mistaken, their version of the president. Maybe it's not a president. I don't know how that works with them. I'll be honest with you. But I saw him. He was a fucking helmet and fucking vest on. You're seeing, the Klitschko brothers, very famous boxers. They have no need. Like, you would think of all people that wouldn't have to fight, it would be the Klitschko brothers or Lomachenko, who's a current Ukrainian boxer. But those guys are gearing up and joining the military. It's interesting. I will say it isn't 100% great news coming out of Ukraine. I did see something today. I don't know the total validity of it, but it seems to be there are multiple stories now coming out that the Ukrainian people are not allowing foreigners and most particularly black foreigners to be getting on the buses in order to leave the Ukraine as a refugee. There are some reports of that. If that is, that's not great.
Not reports. It's I know I sent you for the headlines.
Okay.
It's the last Twitter link, and it's not just Ukraine. And I know we're kind of jumping ahead here. And obviously there's nothing pretty about any of this situation, but no, it's not just reports. There are people, he's Ukraine's Ukraine's deputy chief prosecutor, live on the BBC. This is what he said. "It's very emotional for me because I see European people with blue eyes and blonde hair being killed." Shall I go on? CBS News, quote, "This isn't Iraq or Afghanistan. This is a relatively civilized, relatively European city." From Al Jazeera. Talk about getting it from the back. What's compelling is looking at them, the way they're dressed. They are prosperous middle-class people. They are not obviously refugees trying to get away from the Middle East or North Africa. They look like any European family that you'd live with next door. From France, we are in the 21st century. We are in a European city, and we have cruise missiles fire as though we are in Iraq or Afghanistan. Can you imagine?
Yeah, there's some like weird racist xenophobic shit going on television, and people I don't think they're even conscious that they're doing it. But yeah, it's the first time I saw it on a CNN, there was a CNN guy doing it. I was like, that's a kind of a backhanded way to say that Middle Eastern countries are somehow uncivilized because they don't do things the way that a European nation would necessarily do them. That seems wild to me.
And
yeah, there is some racist undertones to this thing for sure. But yeah, I mean, it is interesting to see, like you said, the push back on this story, of course, to get us back on track a little bit. Interesting to see just how many Ukrainians took up arms, so to speak, to push back against this.
What I'm finding also really interesting is the amount of Russian soldiers surrendering, abandoning equipment that has either fallen into malrepair or run out of fuel. And if you there's a group of Ukrainian TikTokers out there showing like themselves getting into making cool TikTok videos of starting and moving and driving around in Russian military equipment that's been abandoned.
Right.
So we're going to talk about a little bit of that too, because there's some, you think Russia's bad. I've got some more proof that they're worse than you think. And I'm not saying the Russian people. We all know when we say the Russians, and hello to my Russian friends, plural.
Yes,
apparently.
a number of them. Byron. We also if anybody speaks Spanish, I think that's Spanish. Someone from Twitch has joined us and made a comment, but me pican los coco. I don't know what that means. So if anybody can help us out there, if anybody speaks Spanish out there, can translate, or maybe if somebody has time to put that in the Google Translate and help us out, we'd appreciate it. But thank you very much for watching.
Absolutely. We hope you're engaged, and we encourage a dissenting opinion as long as you're respectful, and we will be respectful right back. Otherwise, we'll get you the boot out of here. But you're driving traffic right now if you're a bot, so you're all right with us. The Ukrainian ambassador actually confirmed that they had captured, where did it go? An entire platoon of Russian soldiers that surrendered and said they didn't know they were being brought to the front lines to kill Ukrainians. They were told they had a different mission.
Okay, and that different mission, I want to try to help, and this is a good spot to do how to do this. Understand Putin's side of this, right? Because there's two sides to every story, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is his story here of? Because I understand this is from his side, it's a peacekeeping mission. They see this as a peacekeeping mission. I've also read something about 14,000 Ukrainians that have been killed in Donetsk. I don't know how if I'm saying that right, or Donetsk. I don't know.
That's the city Donetsk. Yes, in the Donbass region. So that's the
And in some of the, let's just say, communist corners of the Facebook that I reside in, they are making that sound as if those are 14,000 Russian sympathizers who are basically being executed by Ukrainians, and that's why Putin is looking at this as a peacekeeping mission, because he's protecting these 14,000 people, these anti-Ukrainians, whatever the opposition is in the Ukraine. And is that, from what you understand, does that sound like something that could be used, like facts twisted in order to make it make sense, kind of deal?
If you're assuming that what you're hearing from those sympathizers is clearly lies and misinformation, then yes, because what clearly happened when Russian soldiers, and we talked about it way back when we were talking about this hybrid warfare, right? Mm-hmm. This form of warfare. They were clearly soldiers, clearly had military equipment, but there were no identifications on it. There were nobody had a patch on that said what country they were from. They slowly moved in to these. I mean, this is where Europe meets Asia, right? So there's going to be ethnicities and pockets of certain types of people everywhere. Those particular regions of Ukraine and like the southeast were typically heavier towards the Russian side, which would only make sense, right?
Right.
The problem with what they're saying is that if it was the first time maybe that we heard this from the Kremlin, all right, let's check it out. Maybe there's human rights violation. Oh my God, why is it the UN there? Get those white hats in there. Holy shit.
Right.
But this is what happened in Georgia in 2008. This is what happened in Kazakhstan. He's done this. Bulgaria? No, not Bulgaria. I forgot the other one right now. I can't. It's escaping my mind. But he's done this before, right? So he sends in this advanced squad, right? That's going to come in and change elections through either assassinations or fear tactics. Mobilize. I don't know. We've seen it here. Mobilize the people that inhabit the far right. You can whip those people up to do whatever you want, including voting and taking over. This is the plan. This was, and that's what he's done in these two regions, and that's why they're called separatist held.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's still sovereign Ukraine, but Russia's claiming it's contested, and that's where this war is. 14,000 Ukrainians is not just from that area. It's like the Ukrainian military has been fighting these Russian-backed separatists. Mm-hmm. Russia's complaining that the West is supplying all these weapons to Ukraine. That's what Russia's been doing
to the other side,
to Syria. Mm-hmm. The same thing Russia kind of did in Syria, although they already had a sympathetic top level and needed to back up the insurgency, right? So he's done this before. This is the MO. People were saying this is what he wanted to do. Biden came out and spelled this whole thing out. It was a brilliant, and I don't know why people are pissed at him, because the dude called him out on everything and put him in this corner, whether you want to admit it or not.
Yeah.
Whether he's out there putting it out on his Twitter like, I did this, I did that. No, trust. For once in this situation, maybe U.S. leadership may have gotten it right. Maybe not perfect.
Yeah, not perfect, but maybe. And Richie in the comments, the first comment. First of all, thank you for joining the discussion and watching
Cheers.
us. And your comment, let's just hope the U.S. don't send our boys over there this go around. And I think you're going to find that we both agree. We don't want to see boots on the ground, American soldiers, and we don't think that that's where this is headed. I think we both think that this is more of a cyber warfare as what it's going to end up in, rather than a boots on the ground. But we're seeing it start off with some boots on the ground, certainly.
I encourage everybody to kind of stick around. We have a note for the folks that are new, including Kurt here. Thanks for joining us, Kurt. Everybody stick around. We have a segment called The Big, where we kind of do a long form about like one kind of specific subject. And this might surprise you, and maybe you want to stick around for that. Again, drive those numbers up. Thank you. But it's about Vladimir Putin. So we're going to kind of talk about what is, and maybe what we thought was never possible might still be possible horrifically, and maybe even worse. Stick around for that. How's that for a tease, right?
And to Kurt's point, he says a lot there, but to his point, it is awesome to see leadership like the Ukrainian president is supplying to his people. Like he's going to come out of this, and this may not be the right way to put it, but like a political rock star in a way, because of the way he's handled this whole thing. Like if things break his way, and he gets the help he needs, and they're able to push back the Russians, he's gonna have. I can't imagine the Ukrainian people aren't gonna fucking want him to be, their president for as long as possible, because he has supplied nothing but awesome leadership so far.
And you could see that people around him were very aware of what a leader should look like in these situations. We're clearly coaching him. Coconuts bite me.
Hold on.
That's even better. They bite me too.
Courtney did the Google Translate for us.
Thank you.
Mi pecan los coco is coconuts bite me, which if we did names for the show would definitely be the name of this show.
Does that, were they maybe talking about us being like the white coconuts, and she's saying you two bite me, and they're like, peace out.
I hope so. I hope that's what it was.
Das vidanya.
Yeah.
So the ground war, right, isn't exactly full scale, right? That's another thing too, is that there's a slow convoy of armor, tanks, and Justin, welcome to the show, coming towards Kyiv, Kharkiv, Odessa, I believe, is like half lost, and those are like the three major cities, right? And we know what then extrapolating from what Putin does is that then he will arrest the president, claiming that he is and this is from Vladimir Putin's mouth himself, a drug-addled Nazi. And they're talking about what the president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, is a second-generation Holocaust survivor, like his grandparents. His story is this. His grandfather was one of 4 children taken into a camp by the Nazis. He was the only one that survived. That is his lineage.
Fucking A.
Do you think that guy is going to be a Nazi?
Def not.
What are the odds?
Yeah, about as long as you could possibly come up with. Yeah.
We gotta have to come up with like a flash segment where like Ben's odds, like Ben's like on the like, what are your odds on? What would
odds on that? That would be like 1,000 to 1, which are long odds.
Okay, it would be, the purpose of the segment would be like, what would make you bite?
Wait, how much would I have to? Okay, if you were to give me, okay, all right, if you were to give me, say, man, even at 500 to 1, I'd put it like I put $100 on it to win 500.
Okay, so that gamble would be with $100 to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. All right. It's good to know as we evolve this segment live on the air. But all right, so we're talking money. Let's talk money. Let's talk about the damage being done to the economy and more of the Russian state, people, and oligarchs, right? Because we've heard plenty about the sanctions and how, in this humble observer's opinion, were done masterfully. They
Mhm.
weren't rolled out all at once. It was a slow roll as like, if you keep doing this, it's like, it'd be like your parents showing you the wooden spoon right before they had to actually use it, just to let you know, like, dude, this is,
It's here.
you
Don't
see it,
make
that here it is. And it did. Credit United States leadership for kind of coalescing. I mean, it didn't take much, because here's the drunk asshole at the party that came to the party looking to fight. Right, this guy came to your party with one idea in mind. He's going to start a fight. That's what we had here, right? There was no. He was never going to. He had no other intention
right.
than to fight.
Yeah.
So this is what we're dealing with. And cutting that guy off, cutting his entire country off. How much the ruble has fell? That fell.
Yeah. Okay, half. I think it's half.
It's trading. When I woke up this morning, it was about a penny. It was less than a penny for 1 ruble.
Whoa.
Right. People have been lining up at banks all over Russia trying to pull out not rubles, but whatever US dollars the bank had left.
Yeah.
The Russian stock market is now officially closed until when, Ben? Give me a date. When do you think? They closed today. They earlier today they announced that they're closing tomorrow.
Okay. And they're not reopening, let's just say 2 weeks.
March 5.
Okay. So
it's like Monday there, I guess. Was that be the 5th? March 5 would be Monday. So the 7th. So they're thinking on Saturday that this will all blow over. So halt your trading and try not to create an absolute black hole that used to be the Russian economy.
Justin in the comments asked a decent question. Will Putin be turned on by his own people, like the Middle Eastern fellow that got dragged through his city and beat with shoes? This is how that happens, right? This is the hope of sanctions, right? Because from what I understand, this is not only is the world pissed off at Vladimir Putin, his own people, there's a large amount of his own people that are pissed off because their lives are being affected by this when they don't necessarily agree with what their president did on their behalf. And so that's also kind of part of the hope of sanctions, right? Is that it causes the ordinary citizens who are unfortunately affected by it to rise up, right?
That's the hope, right? What we know, what Vladimir Putin and this brutal regime does to anybody, especially the head of such a resistance.
You get stabbed and fall out of a window.
So we've extensively covered Yevgeny Navalny and what happened twice. He being twice poisoned by KGB, I mean FSB, or maybe GRU or FSB or SVR. Those are all legit, like successors to that apparatus, which I spent about 45 minutes on Saturday just drooling over Wikipedia entries about what a Chekist is, and we can get into that too, because that's what Vladimir Putin is, and we could certainly talk about it.
Would be interesting
before
about it.
All right, okay, for sure. So Navalny had his position only because the prior leader of the opposition was assassinated, literally gunned down in front of the Kremlin.
Jesus.
All right, that was 2014. That was right about the start of the invasion in Crimea.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what. So the Russian people kind of have this like live in fear thing that they've been dominated by this Chekist system, right? So the definition, I'm going to try to assimilate and try to remember everything. But the Chekist system is an idea that the state police run everything, that they have their hands in everything, from government, education, science, diplomacy, military, espionage, entertainment,
That the
broadcast,
the state police
the
are
state
involved in all of that. That's interesting.
police. So, and this is like it is a almost caste society in a way, because where is Bono? Right? Oh, there'll be a concert. I'm sure there'll be a concert, and he'll run out there like waving the Ukrainian flag, and and while like all the donations to the cause, like only like 6 pennies to the dollar, 6 pence to the pound,
Yeah.
get sent to the cause, and it's off to his Cayman Islands offshore account that he's probably getting really nervous about too right now.
Yep.
So this goes back a long time. We're talking about like 1860s, 70s Russia, where a dude, actually 2 dudes, kind of came up with the idea that one dude fled for his life. The other guy kind of started what eventually became the KGB. The idea that like they're everywhere, they control everything, and also have their hands in criminal elements. I mean, everything. They run everything, right? They just so I'm scrambling to find it because I was ill prepared to go over this, but like
No worries.
there was at one point, I'm not going to find the exact number, so I'm just going to wing it. At one point, I guess in like the height of Soviet Russia, there were like 500 and let's just say 50 citizens for every one KGB agent. It's like roughly 287 citizens for every one FSB agent.
Whoa.
So Vladimir Putin had 2 really great quotes, stealing from the big, which you should join us for later. One, there's never an ex-KGB man. And 2, shortly after being elected president, he swarmily said, I just received good news that the first mission of former KGB operatives has been successful.
Jesus.
Yeah. Who do you think he was talking about? Himself. Because that was the first time ever in the history of Russia that an actual Chekist, an actual like dude involved, became premier, president, czar, whatever.
Right.
Like,
the big guy, the big kahuna.
That was it. That was when that
He was
mission,
the
like
first
phase
guy.
1.
Oh, gotcha. I see. I'm putting together. My brain works a little
He
slowly, but I see what you're saying.
Told you what they did. That's how cold-blooded and calculated. He flat out said, without saying, I'm the guy, I'm talking about myself.
Right.
Bro.
Right. He's saying we did it. This is the first mission we've done, and here I am.
We did it. We
Yeah,
did it.
exactly. Yeah, like, you gotta. Hey, listen, he's not a great guy, but you gotta respect the balls out of Vladimir Putin. The man has gigantic testicles,
And it was all very calculated,
Mhm.
all very measured. Again, we talked about the long view that they have in those circles.
long play.
That
Yep.
they're way into the long game. Well,
Decades.
20, 30,
I mean, Yeah.
40, 50, 60 years. There was no doubt in my mind. There was some point. If they're smart, you don't even have to wait for the point of like no return where you know you're in decline.
Mhm.
If you're in an organization or government and you're not discussing what happens after your regime falls in some sort of contingency like life plan, you're kind of doing it wrong. You're not doing the Hydra thing, right? You're not playing.
Right. Yeah.
So we've seen not only this massive wave of sanctions, which we're actually going to get to, because there's also, I found a really cool pictorial graph of the different, not only economy sizes of Russia and Ukraine, but the diversity of the, and why this might be a really important move for Russia in the first place. But Anonymous is involved. Have you heard this?
No.
They've
been involved in something decent.
Yeah, the legendary clandestine hacker collective known as Anonymous got involved. And not just once, not just with, they're involved in multiple situations, but this was the first one that they hacked into. Get this, talk about trolling people. They hacked into a Chinese website to show images of an electronic device located in Russia that it had hacked as a warning shot over its military aggression in Ukraine. Talk about trolling people.
Dude, this is where it's going to come. This is what we're talking about, man. Like, Anonymous is going to kind of be like a branch of our, digital army, if you will. This is the digital army version of taking up arms in defense of your country, right? I mean, this is a cyber taking up of arms in a way.
Now, there's actually, if you're interested at all in what they've been doing, they've been fucking with, or somebody's been fucking with Russia Today. Somebody's been fucking with the websites for the Kremlin, for the Ministry of Defense. So again, and it could be anonymous, but at this point, it could also, why not? Why not? The United States has been under cyber attack from Russia for at least half a decade that we know of, and maybe even more, without really doing much. In fact, the only thing that we're really sure the United States is responsible for, as far as cyber thing goes, is when they did the Stuxnet attack on the Iranian nuclear reactor. Okay. It was literally a cyber attack, a hack that lasted 3 years, and it literally ran equipment like into the ground. Like it literally destroyed equipment that it just ran it, and we were responsible for that. That was a CIA. I don't know, SA, whatever our acronym is, but that was us. We haven't really done much since, but we sure have had a lot of absorption, not only of attacks but of knowledge, right?
Right.
So what if we were playing a long game in this one and sitting back while Russia was probing our, like, we're not probing theirs, but like, oh, you're gonna hack yourself into that water supply plant in Florida and release that chemical? All right, we see you. We also see the gateways that you use and the routes that you kind of tried to bounce your signal. We see maybe not anything in this one shot, but we've been looking at you doing this for 6 years, man. We've got a pattern.
Right.
We know how you do it. We know what you use. And if they unleash,
pay a lot of money to those intelligence agencies. So let's hope that that's what it is. I'd like to believe that that's what they're using that money for, is for that kind of shit, and to be prepared for this kind of shit. So Ryan Hansen points out our boy Elon hooked Ukraine up with his Starlink network after Russia killed the internet to the Ukraine, which is ironic, which I don't know if we're getting ahead of ourselves here. Not ironic, coincidental maybe, since you have been talking about this being something that Russia was interested in doing and we're scouting around. Remember, guys, that Irish fisherman who just so happened to, foil that Russian fucking
Navy
mission.
It was a fleet. It was a fleet exercise.
Yeah, this is something that, I mean, we're seeing it already, right? This is the game he plays. So what happens if he cuts the internet off to the United States?
Well, so he can't cut. There is no the cord, right? There's no one singular cord. I believe there's 14 ginormous ones that cover the Atlantic between mainland US, Canada, or mainland North America to Europe, and probably Northwest Africa.
But still could disrupt quite a bit.
You could really slow things down and fuck things up. And you can then, if you really wanted to, those are cables between us. Like him coming on this side of the pond would be that's a different conversation, Vlad. coming over here, fucking on our side. But if you cut the cable to Sweden, yeah, they could be out of internet. Yes, if you knew which cable that was, or you're just we know this one kind of goes in that direction. Fuck Belgium, fuck Sweden, fuck Norway. There you go. Maybe, but that's on the table. I don't think there isn't anything that's not on the table.
Sure.
To be honest with you.
Makes sense.
So the list of countries that put sanctions down on Russia is pretty impressive, right? The United States has done so. I'm gonna go through the list, but if you find it, it's an Al Jazeera story. And if you scroll down, there's like that really cool graph about the difference in economies there. But the European Union's a pretty large union. I think 27 or so countries all put sanctions on Russia, and various officials, oligarchs, private citizens. Japan got involved. South Korea got involved. The United Kingdom got involved. Canada got involved. Czech Republic, Taiwan got involved.
Well,
Australia. Or did you get Al Jazeera, UK?
yeah.
Like, yeah, if you keep going, you'll see it. That I think that thing is next after that tweet. But the difference between
Canada,
yeah,
everybody's getting in. Czech Republic,
What?
Taiwan.
There's that graph I was talking about. It might be a little difficult to see for everybody, but I know Ben, the exports from Russia, 407 billion. The exports from Ukraine, 49.5 billion. Couple things I want to point out, and I know obviously Ben can see it a lot better. Russia, clearly, most of their economy, a large chunk, the predominant force in their economy is energy.
Yeah, look at that. That's all petroleum, crude petroleum, refined petroleum, petroleum gas, coal briquettes, coal tar oil, iron ore. This is all.
The Ukraine one, I want to point out a couple of really important things. One, iron ore. You can't make much without iron, right? Because without iron, you can't make steel. You got steel, you can't make buildings, you can't make tanks, you can't make anything, right?
Right.
Russia doesn't seem to have a whole heck of a lot of that.
No, they don't. It's true. It's very. If you can see it, it's this little sliver. Ooh, this little sliver right in here. I could try to zoom a bit more.
There's pig iron. There's hot roiled iron, semi-finished iron. Like there's all kinds of minerals and metals there, right? Raw materials. Russia doesn't seem to have a whole heck of a lot of. The other thing, look at the difference, and I'm going to point to everybody to the yellow, right? Because I think they're more color coded. Because yellow is agriculture.
Now look at that. 2% is just wheat. 2% of the Russians' exports is agricultural.
That's it. They don't have. They import food, corn, wheat, barley, seeds, seed oil, soybeans.
So this is why you hope that the sanctions are going to do a lot of damage because of exactly this, right? If you cut off Russia's ability to buy food from other places, they can't produce much other than wheat for themselves, so that eventually the people go hungry.
It's also a little motivation as to maybe why somebody would want to conquer a fertile land such as Ukraine.
Right? Why wouldn't you? If you only had 2% of your exports as agricultural, it would make sense that you would then want to take over a country that has some agriculture that you could use.
And then no iron. Oh, look at all the mineral and metal deposits that you don't see, color corresponding, you don't see on Russia's side. So it's a strategic resource if you want to look at a country full of almost like 45 million people as a strategic resource. That's clearly one of the factors in this. Russia can't feed its own people right now. It's just a piss poor country. While the top end is the horrors that are on the oligarch Instagrams of where they're shopping, where they're vacationing, all of their money, all of their luxury and lifestyle are all in Western countries and cities and democracies. And the people in Russia are starving. They struggle to keep warm sometimes. They don't have any infrastructure. There are no trains or no schools. It's really bad. It's really bad in Russia. It's if you're a normal citizen and not blessed with any kind of like wealth of any kind.
Man, that sounds like where we're headed.
Doesn't it? Kind of, doesn't it? Doesn't it seem like
it's heavier and heavier and heavier with each passing day? The gap gets wider and wider and wider. What is the inevitable end result?
You might be wondering what kind of money then we're talking about, right? Because when you see like Jeff Bezos can pay for a bridge to be dismantled so his $200 million yacht can fit through it. Let's give some props out there. We laugh sometimes. Let's give some props to the New York Post, because in that story, Ben, there is a lovely map of New York properties, New York City properties, Central Park View properties bought by Russian oligarchs. And the names might be familiar to you at all if you've been a fan of the show or paying attention. But let's just look at some of those prices. 74 million for one, 16.5 for one. That's just Abramovich. Abramovich is they call him Putin's banker.
Gotcha.
Uh-huh.
Oleg Deripaska.
Yes.
42 million for one place. 4.5 for $42 million for a fucking building in New York City.
An apartment.
Just one apartment. $42
Yes,
million.
Townhome, condo, whatever you want to call it.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Len Blavatnik bought a 75-foot wide townhouse for $31 million.
They call him Putin's chef.
Then he bought a $51 million residence. Then another $80 million one, a $90 million one, and just this one's just $27.5 million.
Hey, do you know what?
He also has a mega mansion in the Hamptons. So that's
cool. For sure. Well, I mean, don't we all? You wanna take a guess what mercenary group Len Blavatnik runs?
Their version of Blackwater,
the Wagner Group.
Yeah. Yes. We've talked about them in numerous of. That's who that is. That's the Eric Prince of their version.
Putin's chef. Think about what a chef does. Chops and butchers things. And,
yes.
Yeah, cooks things, and why would somebody call somebody Putin's banker? Well, Putin, nobody's really sure how much money he actually has. People say, well, actually, if you talk to anybody, and I'm talking on the record, off the record, they'll probably in the know. They'll let you know, yeah, Putin's probably the world's richest man. Just nobody really knows how much he has.
No,
and they speculate. Oh yeah, and they speculate easily that he could have $400 billion stored away.
Wow.
Now, that's $400 billion of the Russian people's money.
Right.
That he's not getting that on the presidential salary, and he certainly hasn't earned it.
Holy shit.
So when we talk about what an oligarch is, these are friends, cronies, enablers, part of the con that have made enormous sums of money.
Jesus. That's an amazing amount of money. To be able to spend that kind of money on apartment buildings in New York, think about how much money you have to be able to spend $90 million on an apartment or a townhouse.
Yeah. Wow. So you're Roman Abramovich, and we might actually get sanctioned or somehow, because the crazy thing about this is, like, these guys are so sensitive to the names, like they sue, like people on Twitter, if they get mentioned, they sue. That's why it's a really cool thing that the New York Post is rolling their names out. I think other newspapers and print articles and websites have done the same thing. But prior to this, the only way somebody could get any kind of traction and say their names in public was some sort of political figure. And I believe an English MP actually did not too long ago read off like 35 names of like the top 35 Russian oligarchs in like chambers on the record. And so she couldn't be sued for that.
Yeah. Brian Hansen makes a good point. I bet Putin's money isn't in the denominations of rubles.
Absolutely, it is not. It's in
no,
it's U.S. dollars. It's a lot of real estate, gold,
artwork, properties.
Roman Abramovich has a yacht. Actually, he has 3, to be honest with you. And we're not just like, oh, you got a nice 40-foot schooner. No,
it's not a sailboat.
It's a schooner. There is no Easter Bunny.
Stupid. You dumb bastard.
He has 3 mega yachts.
Oh,
The kind of yacht you might see on like, I don't know, a reality TV show, like like the big, like, right? One of these, I think it's called Solstice, something like Solaris. This is by memory. Ben, how many hundreds of millions of dollars is this one yacht worth?
I'm gonna say $400 million.
You're close. $600 million for one boat.
Oh, come on.
One boat. Of
That's
course, that
money that is just patently absurd.
I was reading a little bit about this because I deleted an article of some of the oligarchs and their stuff, but I guess it has like a 25-foot glass bottom pool. It has its own simulated beach. Of course, it's got the helicopter pad. Movie theater. You got to have
inside the boat.
Right. I mean, you got obviously movie theaters. Like, I mean, what are we, savages?
Why would you have a $600 million boat and not have a movie theater? Right?
Yeah, and Below Deck. I was trying to think of the Below Deck. I have this sick affinity for the reality TV show. Yeah, it is a simulated beach. Gigi, simulated beach.
I hope the yacht can stand up and transform into a robot.
There's no doubt that he's got like submarines and armaments that this thing can like. It's got like missiles or anti-aircraft. Like
$20 million
I would
to maintain every year, just to maintain it.
Yeah, right, and that's kind of scratch we're talking about the insane, enormous amount of money that's being stolen again from the Russian people, from the Russian land. So what else have they done with that money, Ben? Well, I'm glad somebody asked, because NPR just posted. Oh, this is actually I'm gonna two things. I'm gonna point out that NPR posted something. This is actually 2019. Let's take the way back machine, right?
Huh.
Way back to 2019. This is the headline. We won't get too much into it because it's we certainly can if you want to. But the NRA was a foreign asset to Russia ahead of 2016. New Senate report reveals. This is back in 2019, so certainly not new news, but something
still
worth bringing up, right? We mentioned her a couple of different times on the show. Do you remember that Black Widow? Maria Butina.
Yes.
I got somebody caught her on Russian TV because she's been basically banned from anywhere that has any kind of logic or thinking, knowing full well she's a Kremlin agent. So she's now hosting a very cush talk show in Russia.
Oh,
right?
that sounds like that is on character.
It's a cushy landing, right?
Yeah.
It's a cushy landing. This was one time. I'm just gonna say sex vixen of the NRA, two-way toting, machine gun loving, pose real sexy with a couple of handguns in my hand, lover of freedom in America to own a rifle because you just never know. You gotta defend yourself, right? On Saturday, February 26th, a special edition of the Russian propaganda talk show Vremya Pohetska. Maria, that's the name of the show. I wasn't sneezing. Maria, that's bad. I shouldn't be making fun of it. But Maria Butina condemns Kyiv authorities for handing out rifles because, quote, people don't know how to handle them and a child might be killed at home.
No shit, Maria. No shit.
Really? The hypocrisy when you see it sometimes just kind of needs to be called out, right?
I mean, come on. Yeah, you're right. You are working with the NRA. There are multiple pictures of her. I remember if you recognize the face, posing with guns and shit. Like she was super pro NRA. And yeah, to then turn around and say that is just that's Ted Cruz level hypocrisy.
And not only Mr. Whack, should that thing transform, but it should have like you should be able to survive anything on a boat that almost the biggest tidal wave that this thing could like part of it turns into a survival submarine where like you've got your whatever, like you should be able to survive it, everything but the Earth itself cracking in half and drifting into the sun. That's what $600 worth of boat should buy me.
$6 million. Yeah.
I might be frugal. I don't know. But yeah, I absolutely. If you got a simulated beach, if you got the money for that, you got the money for a little something extra to kind of make this thing at least buoyant in the case of a global flood. So we've just been talking about what the Russian people are willing to do, or at least the Russian military is willing to do to their enemies, right? We've seen there's evidence now of cluster bombs landing in civilian areas, munitions that are banned by the good old Geneva Convention, which I know we're all super familiar with. They dropped what's called a vacuum bomb apparently today. And what's a vacuum bomb? I'm glad. It's a vacuum bomb uses oxygen from the surrounding air to generate a high temperature explosion, typically producing a blast wave of significantly longer duration than that of a conventional explosive. This is also banned by everybody that thinks certain aspects of war is okay and certain weapons are okay to kill each other with, but not those weapons. So, moral line in the sand for sure. Yes, but this is what they're willing to do to other people. Ben, the next is a video on YouTube showing, and I've confirmed this from several different people, several different sources, several different mediums, is a video of a Russian military mobile crematorium.
Oh.
These units are following their troops. And basically, the Russians used to be really famous for mass graves. Ask anybody familiar with any kind of Eurocentric history, especially somebody who might have Polish ethnic roots, and find out how the Russians treat military prisoners and sometimes even their own people. This is a mobile crematorium that is following Russian military units. In many cases,
Ryan says a perfect no bodies, no body count.
In many cases, the first line of the Russian military that got sent in were 18-year-olds who signed up on they got conscripted, right? So they're doing their 1 year or something, or 2 years in the military before you move on and the rest of you graduate high school, you serve 2 years of military. It's common a lot of places around the world. They were there for training purposes. And let's go back to what we were talking about, like these Russian troops surrendering, saying we didn't know we were going to come here and kill these people. These 18-year-olds, kids, had their combat status switched to active without their permission or even knowledge.
Whoa.
And they were part of the front line.
Jesus Christ. Welcome to the fucking military, kids.
A lot of these are the ones that are surrendering, abandoning equipment. And it's actually, Ukraine's really smart too, because they actually set up a program, a Facebook page, a website for Russian family members to contact Ukrainian military to find out if their loved one, if their son is either captured or dead.
Right. Wow.
And there's multiple stories of Ukrainian military units giving their phones to these Russian soldiers so they can call home because their parents don't know they're on the front line. In fact, Russia's locked down their entire media system to the point where the Russian people don't know that this is really happening by and large. They really do not.
Huh.
Russia has shut down Twitter on their end. They've severely slowed down and throttled traffic on Facebook. They've scrubbed for the words on their proprietary browsers invasion and incursion. Right. So when Russian people hear these things, they're like, that's not that they're going to Donbass to save those people.
Mm-hmm.
And this is despite the thousands of Russians that are risking their lives protesting in the streets of Moscow and St. Petersburg against this, because you can get to Twitter if you set up a VPN. So you kind of have to mask your signal. So
Uh-huh.
again, where Twitter in these situations is the perfect app for like up to date. I'm sending my love notes to Twitter. So let me see. Do we want to talk about something else? Do we want to talk about?
We could take a turn for a minute.
Okay, let's talk about a little bit of a turn here, right? Let's talk about something going on here, right? Hey
Mhm.
Ben, did you know that? Oh man, I'm gonna get screwed on this one. So let's just let's take a look at this. This actually came from Cambridge, Cambridge.org. There was a big study done, and the question was, what happened to the U.S. economy during the 1918 influenza pandemic? And this was a view through what's called high frequency data. And to be honest with you, this is a study that costs $25 to read, and and it's one of those like really thick studies that only like subject matter experts are really going to appreciate. But the abstract gives us some nice clues about what they found.
Okay.
And I'll just get right to the last line or last sentence or so, in that they basically city level mortality rates and economic indicators with time series methods and structural estimation of an economic epidemiological model, interventions to hinder contagion, reduced mortality. What meant basically shutdowns, the
Uh-huh.
closing of businesses at little economic cost, probably because it reduced the infections and the impact on the labor force.
That makes sense. I see what they're saying. So because less people were once the economy opened back up after the shutdowns, the economy was able to come back because people were able to go to work.
There were still
There,
people to go to work.
there were people to go to work, right? Earn money, then spend that money back into the economy. I get that. That makes sense.
So, you want to talk about Vlad? Have I exhausted everybody's patience on this?
Yes.
I
Well,
have.
you have not. No. I do want to talk about the yes was the answer. Do you want to talk about
You are all right, because I maybe not get to every big grandiose idea that I had in mind, but I think we should definitely kind of understand that this is the motivation of increasingly what it appears to be just one man, one very isolated and, according to reports, maybe not so stable. I'm going to skip the first story, Ben, but I want to tell everybody right now that if you really want to kind of understand at least one major aspect of this entire era, a 22-year reign of Vladimir Putin over the country of Russia, there
Uh-huh.
is a story from Unheard, Unheard, unheard.com. And I would just search out Putin's spiritual destiny. And it will tie a lot of things together. And this dives into a lot of Russian history, including a dive into the Russian Orthodoxy, and how he basically kind of sees himself as a religious figure. Stop me if you've heard this before from a crazed despot. He sees himself as some sort of religious figure walking on earth with a destiny greater than that of a mere mortal.
Listen, he might be right because have you ever seen him play hockey? The man is ungodly at the game of hockey.
You know, I always thought that Theo Fleury was the best hockey player I've ever seen. It was 5'7". I was wrong.
Wrong.
Vladimir Putin is the best hockey player I've ever seen in my life, who's only 5'7". 5'7". Can you even like use a urinal? You need to use the lower one.
Score 14 goals against the finest Russian hockey players in their country.
Who seem to be absolutely baffled by
goalies who are world class just cannot seem to just get in front of a puck shot by old Vlad Putin.
They just absolutely are they just mesmerized. They literally freeze on the ice and stop moving.
They don't know what to do. They're just mesmerized by this this spiritual holy man who's come down and blessed us with hockey.
he's so good at hockey that he didn't play it.
Right.
That's how good he's like, you know what, guys? We think
Let that
you
Wayne
think,
Gretzky guy do all. Let him do
please,
it.
99 nothing. I'm 100.
I'm
That's what
trying to become the richest man on earth.
yeah, I have bigger ambitions, and most certainly he does. Uh, the second story I sent you, the one from Business Insider.
Oh, the second one. Oh, I'm getting ahead of myself.
Yeah, I put that one. I'm doing a little switch here because I think without going into the understanding of the orthodoxy and the deep.
Yeah, no. The next story that you had in line was the Politico story, but you skipped ahead of me, and that's cool. I'm ready.
Yeah.
I can
no, because this one's gonna set that one up. I think.
Stick and move.
So,
I can stick and move. I'm good.
I love it. So this one is from, and we've talked about, I believe I mentioned him a couple times. I started following him a long time ago on Twitter. Not that that's some kind of like cool thing. I'm like, there's some dirt on my shoulder, but his name is Michael McFaul, and you don't know who he is, but he was the ambassador to Russia during the Obama administration. So this is a man who is a lifelong interest in not only diplomacy, but also all things Russia. He's literally studied Russian history. He speaks fluent Russian. He sat in a room across from Vladimir Putin for 5 years during the Obama administration. So 5 years with a very intelligent person, you kind of glean a little insight, right? That person gets to know the other one through interactions, right? Like actual physical interactions.
Sure.
On NBC's Meet the Press, when asked whether Putin was a rational actor, McFaul said to get kicked out of SWIFT, which is the international banking messaging system, basically cutting Russia off from any kind of money services to the outside world, as it happened to Russia today, and then to have the president of Russia get in front of his generals and say, we need to prepare for nuclear war. That doesn't sound very rational for me. Mr. McFaul goes on to say, remember, this guy's been in power for 22 years. He doesn't listen to his aides. Even when I was ambassador 8 years ago, he was very dismissive of anybody around him. He's out of it. He's out at his compound, doesn't come into town very much. And under COVID, he's been even more isolated. I sat in a room with him for 5 years when I worked with the Obama administration. I speak Russian. I listen to him. I know what he says. He's increasingly unhinged in the way he talks about the regime. He doesn't like that somebody's going to sit down and negotiate a peaceful outcome, referring to Putin. This is a guy that knows the guy, right?
Sure. And as Ryan Hansen points out, Trump is out here saying he's smart.
He's a genius, right?
Genius.
So I don't know if you remember who Fiona Hill is, but Fiona Hill was a member of multiple administrations' foreign Russian delegation.
Name rings a bell, but I don't know what she does.
She testified, I believe, in the first impeachment of Donald J. Trump, which go figure. Who would have thunk the first time that Donald Trump got impeached, it was about withholding military aid to a country called Ukraine.
Remember that? Yes.
Because
when we were talking about Ukraine 2 years ago.
Because he wanted Ukraine to come up with dirt on Hunter Biden.
The infamous Hunter Biden in his computer.
I don't know if that has anything to do with it. I don't know if it has anything to do with it. I know I posted this on your, okay. So Paul Manafort spends a better part of the 90s and early 2000s supporting pro-Russian oligarchy interests in Ukraine. In 2016, Donald Trump hires Paul Manafort to be his campaign manager for free. Paul Manafort literally says, I'm not taking a salary. This is pro bono. I'll do this. I'll be your presidential campaign manager.
No salary from you, Mr. Trump.
Right. Which is just weird because you would imagine that's got to be one of the most stressful, chaotic jobs a human being could experience for 2 years, is being a campaign manager. Holy shit, that's got to be a logistic nightmare.
And you're going to do it for free?
You're going to do it for free as an aging Okay. So on the eve of the Republican National Convention, all of a sudden the RNC changes its platform and removes any mention of defending Ukraine or giving aid to Ukraine. No coincidence there whatsoever. 2018, the very, very famous Helsinki meeting between President Putin and President Trump. You remember the one Trump walked out looking like a scalded dog with his head down. Putin was all giggles and smiles. And then Trump mysteriously, for some reason, destroyed all physical records that were being taken of what was discussed in that meeting.
Remember that. We talked about that, where he didn't want anybody transcribing. They destroyed the notes of the people that were in the meeting. They were taking
translators.
The translators. That's right.
Taking notes.
They had them destroyed after the meeting. Why?
And
now we're seeing it all play out.
Long game. And then after the Helsinki meeting, Trump withholds that aid. That's when Trump withheld that aid. That's when he gets impeached for the first time, right?
Yep.
So that's the timeline we're talking about here when people are saying like, this wouldn't have happened under Trump.
Exactly. You're right, because there would be no pushback.
It happened because of Trump.
Right. It wouldn't happen.
Rolled it out.
Trump wouldn't stop him. That's what he's basically said, right? When he calls him a genius, this is the right move. You have to imagine that Trump is president right now. Putin is making these moves. There's no sanctions on Russia. He's a genius. He's doing the right thing. He would be at his daily fucking press briefing telling everybody, no, Putin's doing the right thing. He's a genius.
He said he should have done it in Mexico. He should have done it at the southern border. That's what we're talking about.
This is a man who sees Putin as a guy that's doing it the right way. And it's amazing to me that he's been able to say that. And there has been virtually he's really Teflon, this Trump guy, with the sycophants, with the stands, if you will. He can literally do no wrong. When he said he could murder someone in Times Square and get away with it,
he meant it.
He meant it. This is a perfect example. He's talking. I mean, you ask anybody. My friends that are considered conservative, very right wing people that I work with and associate with sometimes, have said they're against what Putin is doing. They see him for what he is, but at the same time, their guy Trump is out here calling the man a genius and putting him over.
And
there's nothing. And there's radio silence from his side. But LeBron James doesn't talk bad about China, and Ben Shapiro can't shut the fuck up about it.
And it's really interesting to take note of everybody and what they're saying right now, because everybody's kind of showing you who they are and what side they're on, right? Because in the terms of this, like, I'm a 45-year-old, almost 46-year-old man. I grew up in the waning Soviet Russia era in the last breathing moments, the last couple of decades of what was the Cold War, under the threat of nuclear annihilation. Russia's never been a friend, maybe friendly at some point, but has never been a friend. And I never thought I'd see the day, dude, that people would be like, yeah, the Russian president, I wish he was our president. And that's circulating out there.
There is a little bit of that. Yeah.
Because why? Because he seems like a strong man, right? Same thing with Trump. He says it how you want to hear it.
He's dripping with toxic masculinity.
Right. Whether it's assumed, fake, or not.
Mm-hmm.
But it tells you the way you want to hear it. And that's what gives you a little bit of comfort. Because you can go, at least at the end of the day, that guy gets me. That guy talks the way I talk. That guy gets me. He says what I would have said. When that's not what. Anyway.
So back to Fiona Hill, because we kind of got off track. So back
a little bit. Yeah, we do have a lightning round. We still have that coming up. We haven't even put that over. But Fiona Hill, just her credentials. She worked in both Republican and Democratic administrations, has a reputation for truth-telling, has studied Russian and European history all her life, right? So Politico sat down, and it's a long form interview, but I want to go over just one, maybe or two of the questions that were asked. She was asked that she's been a longtime watcher of Putin, wrote one of the best biographies about him. When you've been watching him over the past week, what have you been seeing that other people might be missing? This is her response. Putin is usually more cynical and calculated than he came across in most recent speeches. There's an evident visceral emotion in things being said in the past few weeks justifying the war in Ukraine. The pretext is completely flimsy and almost nonsensical for anybody who's not in the echo chamber or bubble of Russia propaganda. I mean, demanding the Ukraine military that they essentially overthrow their own government or lay down their arms and surrender because they are being commanded by a bunch of drug-addled Nazi fascists. There's just no sense to that. It beggars the imagination. The visceral emotion is unhealthy and extraordinarily dangerous because there are few checks and balances around Putin. He spotlighted this during the performance of the National Security Council meeting, where it became very clear that this was his decision. He was, in a way, taking full responsibility for war, and even as the heads of his security and intelligence services look like they've been thrown off guard by how fast things were moving. So they go on to discuss and ask her questions. Do you think he's trying to put back together the Soviet Union or the Russian Empire? So it goes into a little bit of Russian history, which is itself very fascinating. But when asked how far into Ukraine do you think Putin would go, she said all the way, in an idea that maybe not to take the whole country, but to break it up and say, oh, we only want this part. And Ukraine's not really a country anyway, because other parts belong to Poland or, Romania or Slovakia. So they could take the rest, but we just want these parts because
Right.
Ukraine was never really a country. So there's that. But when asked of if she believed, Fiona Hill, long-time Russian historian, knows Putin as good as anybody possibly can, asked if nuclear weapons were a possibility, she emphatically said yes, he would.
Wow.
Now, I know the authorities, I know President Biden said, no, it's not possible. That's kind of what you have to say.
Yeah.
But are we talking about somebody now that's willing to launch one? Because if you launch one, then they're all going to get launched in some capacity.
The way she puts this is interesting too. The thing about Putin is if he has an instrument, he wants to use it. Why have it if you can't? He's already used a nuclear weapon in some respects. Russian operatives poisoned Alexander Litvinenko with radioactive polonium and turned him into a human dirty bomb, and polonium was spread all around London at every spot the poor man visited. He died a horrible death as a result.
And
the Russians already use a weapons-grade nerve agent. They've used it possibly several times, but for certain twice.
Yes. So, yes, this guy's done it before. Just because it's a nuclear weapon, you don't think it's possible? It's possible in his mind. But Ben, you posted something, and it's great because we are thinking along the same lines, and Yahoo did all the work for us. But has anybody seen the big long table thing?
That is preposterous. I got to bring this up. Oh, I got to find it.
Oh, keep going, man, because I found Yahoo captured them all.
That's awesome.
And it's great because we've just started discussing the sanity and the stability of a man with his finger literally on a trigger. And he's self-isolating, he's not listening to anybody around him, and clearly not wanting to be around much of anybody these days. That includes his cabinet. That includes.
Look at this picture. This is fucking wild.
This is cartoonish.
It is cartoonish. It's such a power play, right? Like all of you sit down at that end of the table, and I'm going to sit all the way down here at this end of this table, and you will strain to listen to me. And but I won't strain to listen to you. You will speak up. And it's just, if it was, the only thing better would be if the end of the table where he sits right here was up higher and he sat up and looked down at them. That would be the only like more power play that he could use with this table. But it's absurd. It is comically long.
Billy White has a great point in that, this guy's going to be 70 now, and it doesn't look to be in the best of health. In that article, Miss Hill notes that he's noted rumored to have like excruciating back pain. And if you look at pictures from Putin today and Putin even like 10 years ago, he's very puffy in the face these days, which is a symptom of long time steroid use for pain and to reduce inflammation. But Ben, why don't you scroll down, because that's just one meeting.
There's just two guys there.
Those are his generals. Those are like the people, like, and that was his like cabinet on the first picture. Ben, why don't you scroll down? This is Putin toasting one of Azerbaijan. They're friendly.
Azerbaijan.
Thank you very much. Ben, why don't you scroll down? Hey,
He's
Ben, why don't you scroll down?
Very seriously.
Hey, Ben, why don't you scroll down?
Oh my God.
That's a meeting with his Security Council. Putin say what? Putin say what?
Oh my God, what a weirdo.
Oh, the story continues, so you can click that button because I want you to keep scrolling down.
Oh my God, look at this.
That's a meeting with the Chancellor of Germany. Hey, Ben, why don't you scroll down? That's a picture with him and his foreign minister, Sergei Lavrov. That's a meeting with, Emmanuel Macron.
This is so silly.
That's
a meeting. This is what we're asking people to do, right? Is take social distancing seriously.
This is also indicative of another thing, right? This is, yes, he's also paranoid. He's well aware of the public sentiment for not only his rule, but for his maneuvers here in Ukraine, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's no doubt. This guy is well aware of Russian history. It's very rare for a Russian president to like leave office gracefully.
Right. They don't retire, right? They don't go off. They don't ride off into the sunset.
I think Stalin died while he was in office.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't go well for Russian leaders sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pretty violent history that he's well aware of. So why let anyone get near him?
Sure.
Especially if you're meeting with your defense ministry, those kind of the guys who are dialed into boots on the ground to be like a military takeover. Like, all right, we killed the president. I slit his throat on live TV at that terrible table. There could be that he's literally fearing for his life, that he knows like somebody could be out there to get him. It's obviously paranoid just being around people. If he's been in his bunker for 2 years for COVID, like completely isolated and detached from reality is what we're dealing with here.
Yeah.
And then he starts suffering these personal blows.
Yes, I hope you're going to get to this. I'm glad we didn't skip over this.
That the International Judo Federation has suspended him as an honorary president, and then his black belt was then revoked by the International Taekwondo Association.
Do we believe that, like hockey, he also is a black belt in Taekwondo and Judo and he just went from white belt directly to black belt because he's a god, remember? So he's amazing at hockey. It stands to reason that if he's also a black belt in Judo and Taekwondo, that he is just as good at that, right?
There actually is a video. I knew that there was. There's a video on YouTube of a woman, like, oh, and I have to be a member, but a woman like taking him to the mat in judo. But otherwise, it's much like you think. It's like him versus
lady,
kids.
by chance, did that poor lady, did she stab herself and jump out a window?
Yeah, I don't think we've ever heard of her, from her.
Yeah, whatever
We'll
happened
check
to
in.
Let's do it. Can we do a documentary on the lady that took down Vladimir Putin in a judo contest?
Yeah, it's just the title of the video is
It's just written on a piece of paper. Poochie died on the way back to his home planet.
that's kind of what it is, right? Like, don't even look here.
Yeah.
So the scary thing is that we're dealing with clearly somebody who's maybe now gotten to the point in their long reign that the king's gone mad, right? If he's not listening to people, outside information doesn't matter to him. It's only what his perception is and what he wants, and he's in some sort of mad, fevered religious quest for glory, not for Russia, but for Vladimir Putin. They have the most warheads. Not that, like, it's a big race like that, but they've got that hypersonic warhead that he threatened everybody with. And who knows what else, but yeah, obviously it's completely dominated an entire show, folks. Sorry, it just happens to be that this is what.
Hey, every once in a while when the
show
hits, this is what we do. Like, it is what it is. We don't have to apologize.
I know, like, everybody's like, because it's everywhere, right? But I hope that we bring a little different flavor to.
But here's the thing: at the end of all of this, we've hit you with Ukraine, war, Vladimir Putin, but then at the end, we've got this.
All right, it's time for the lightning round. We'll go Travolta up in here. Oh, no, we're gonna do really. We don't really want to go full Travolta. Trust me on that. You know what I mean? But there we go. All right, it's time for the lightning round, ladies and gentlemen. Here on Topic Thunder, you have entered the Topic Thunderdome, where 3 stories enter and 1 story gets read. And ladies and gentlemen, you, the fine people in the Topic Thunderdome, get to choose what that story is. No dilly-dally. Let's get right to it. Headline number 1. Man seen carrying his own severed arm, not an employee at where it was cut off at.
I'm sorry, what now?
You want me to read it again, or should we wait?
I don't even know if I talk about. I was so shocked by the man carrying his own severed arm. The second half of the headline was just like,
Sure. Here we go. Man seen carrying his own severed arm was not an employee at where it was cut off at.
Oh, amazing. Okay.
Headline number 2. Fuck your turkey sub. Subway store in Oakland keeps getting targeted with graffiti.
Fuck your turkey sub. Oh, man.
And headline number 3. Bees are explosively ejaculating to death during heat waves.
My God.
Those are the 3 headlines that you, the fine listening audience of the Topic Thunder podcast, the number 1 podcast not listened to by my father, you get to vote on all 3 of them. And while we kind of let the old tabulations come in, we're going to read those headlines one more time. So here we go. Headline number 1. Man seen carrying his own severed arm was not an employee where it was cut off at.
How do we not want to know about that, guys? Come on.
Headline number 2. Fuck your turkey sub. Subway store in Oakland keeps getting graffiti targeted.
Looks like we've got a vote for the turkey sub. Billy Wacko wants turkey sub.
And headline number 3. Bees are explosively ejaculating to death during heat waves.
Brian, what's with the headlines? There's been 0 days since our last accident. Sandwich art, an attack of the coming bees. Oh, that's so good.
got one. We got to vote for the turkey,
Turkey
subs.
Let's get those votes in now, guys.
We'll get the votes in. We get a winner.
If I get a vote, I'm voting for number one. Number one is I gotta know how a guy who's not supposed to even be there, like Dante in fucking Clerks, he's not even supposed to be there today, gets his arm cut off.
He's caught carrying it.
It's like getting, I think, Craig and Friday getting fired on his day off.
So we got 2 votes coming in for one.
Thank you, guys.
All right, we're getting backed up here.
Something about Brooks's delivery means the turkey story could be the sleeper hit. Yes.
You never know. Or you just have to kind of really go after it sometimes.
Sometimes you just gotta yell, "Fuck your turkey sub."
Fuck your turkey sub.
Wait, how many opportunities does one have to yell, "Fuck your turkey sub"?
Especially when you're right next door to your neighbors. It's great.
Right.
They have to
Bumble bust a nut bomb. Yes. The bees.
Biz is going with the bees.
So that's 3. That's 2 votes for the number 3, 2 votes for number 1, and 1 vote for number 2.
Did I see a vote from Gigi?
My vote for number 1 might tiebreak. Yeah, there is no vote from Gigi yet. I'm not sure if.
Oh no, she's got number 1. She Richard Kimball vote story 1. Dr. Richard Kimball.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
All right, I think actually we have a
3
winner.
votes.
Unless there's somebody else there in the background. I know we saw Supreme earlier. I know we had some Russian friends that called us coconuts or something.
I think some people dropped off early, but that's
there's a lot of current event stuff that people don't care about. I get it, but we have a winner, ladies and gentlemen. We have a winner for the lightning round. That's headline number 1.
Yes.
This came from Fox 28 out of Columbus. You know the headline, but one more time. Man seen carrying his own severed arm was not an employee at where it was cut off at, OSHA says. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration says a man whose arm was severed at the Lewiston Marine Market did not work there. The agency said it ended its investigation into the incident because the man wasn't an employee at the AK Market, giving them no jurisdiction to investigate what happened. In January, 25-year-old Abdelaziz Hussein of Lewiston was saved by city employees who saw him walking down the street carrying his severed arm, which had been cut off near the shoulder, and applied a tourniquet. According to the Sun Journal, police did not reveal the man's relationship to the market or what led up to the injury, but it did say it involved a meat-cutting bandsaw. What do you got to do to get your shoulder into a bandsaw?
I mean, yeah, because the bandsaw is, it's a band saw. So you'd have to be cutting something and then like pushing it towards
or being pushed.
Or being pushed into it or something. Yeah. You'd have to be going towards it and and then he was just carrying it? God damn. I'd be passed out.
You want to hear about the turkey sub?
I do want to hear about the turkey sub.
You want to hear about the turkey sub?
Of course we do.
Turkey sub. Fuck your turkey sub! Subway store in Oakland keeps getting targeted with graffiti. It's been a tough few weeks for the Oakland Subway store at 6341 Shattuck Avenue, which has been the target of an ongoing vandalism. Manager Peter Singh said the store had dealt with back-to-back graffiti since last month. He said he's felt demoralized after the vandalism began to ramped up more recently. Quote, "We are getting really tired of this," Singh, don't you think? Singh told SF Gate. It's just a bad start to the day when you see graffiti all over and you paint it and you see it again. It's painful. On Friday, neighboring business Nick's Pizza posted a photo on its Instagram stories with the most recent vandalism to the Subway location, which is just across the street. In the post, Nick Vapor Cox, owner of Nick's Pizza, shared his disappointment after witnessing countless graffiti incidents on his neighbor's storefront and included a photo of the defaced building that's read, "Fuck your turkey sub." It kept coming back and it feels like harassment, Vapor Cox told SF Gate. I think someone thinks they're being funny. To me, it's not acknowledging that there's a person there, not a nameless corporation. I would bet money, Ben, maybe give me some odds that Mr. Nick Vapor Cox is actually the one spray painting the Subway shop across the street saying, "Fuck your turkey sub." That's another topic thunder in the books. I believe it's 64 or something like that, but I'm really starting to lose count. And I think the clerk downstairs in the archives left.
Yeah, the office is kind of cleared out. But, when we told people they could start working from home, and they took it seriously.
They never came back. We don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, we're still paying them. They're still on the payroll. There's the Russian correspondents. Remember them?
Yeah.
They're still over there. We haven't heard from them.
No, we don't know anything about what's going on over there.
Okay, but we don't know.
My health insurance hasn't kicked in from them, so I haven't gotten paid. So there's got to be. I don't know. Yeah, I got insurance policies on all. I mean, well, you've been listening to another episode of Topic Thunder, ladies and gentlemen. We thank you for experiencing this journey through journalism and the conversation. We're really appreciative. You can check us next Monday, 7 p.m. Rapapa, the U.S. sailing from.